The beginning of Parshat Bamidbar and of Sefer Bamidbar really deals with questions of space. Not only have we switched space, meaning we're really in the wilderness, in the midbar, and that has tremendous impact on what happens throughout the book. The wilderness is a place of transition, of traveling. It breeds chaos. It's kind of like a family trip. You can have a nice time for the first hour listening to music, but after a while, everybody kind of gets sick of each other. The car ride gets kind of rocky. People start complaining. They're very hungry. Very, very similar to a lot of the things that we see happening in the beginning of Sefer Bamidbar. And one of the things that we do see in the beginning is a very formal focus on where everybody is supposed to go, to sort of define the boundaries of space. So in the beginning, it's very obvious. It has to do with first just counting up everybody we have, and then saying physically where each of the tribe should be encamped and who's going to be their neighbors. And then we come up sort of against a bunch of parshiot, of sort of subunits, particularly in Parshat Bamidbar, specifically in Parshat Naso, where we have there a more subtle discussion of space and place. And by way of example, what I mean specifically is that we have first the stories of those who are tameh. We have the people who are impure. We heard about those physical impurities, those body impurities in the book of Vayikra, and then we learn about the fact that it also has impact on the places they're allowed to be. Not only can you not sit in the same bench with them or touch them, but they have to leave certain elements of the camp, and each of the different bodily impurities demand that they separate from different parts of each of the camps. Some of them are more severe than others. And those are people, when I imagine them, they're people that really want to be part of Machane Yisrael, but because of their impurity, they have to go outside for 7 days' time. And then you have the Kohen, who it's his job to sort of be the bridge between them and the community. He goes to visit, to check, especially if they're Mitzoraim, if they have Tzaraat, which I won't translate as leprosy because it's wrong. Those are people who want to be in. And then also in our parasha, and this sort of comes to explain this question of why are all of these topics put together, you have the Nazir, okay? The Nazir, the Nazirite, he or she is somebody who physically still remains part of the community, but in their heart and their soul, they actually want to be somewhere else. Maybe they want to achieve a higher level of spiritual perfection than everybody else. Maybe they actually sunk pretty low, and this is their way to sort of go and fix that, to be some sort of repair. But this is a person who physically remains in the community, but in their heart space, they're actually somewhere else and they want to be separate. And I think it's beautiful that the Torah creates space for that. Meaning I want to still be part of this, what's going on here, or I'm physically going to be part of it, but I actually want to occupy a different space for a certain period of time. And I think also even the very difficult Parsha of Sotah, of the quote-unquote adulterous woman, I'll just say in one line, which is that I think actually this whole story is about how to keep a couple together. We often think about it as something that sort of accentuates the space between them. But I think the whole process really comes to try and repair a rift that was created. It's kind of like, I would say, the ancient world's version of some sort of spiritual couples therapy. Again, it's not a process that we ended up endeavoring upon and continuing for a very long period of time. But I think at its essence is actually really this desire to find a way to repair the rift that happened. The process that the woman goes through actually will enable her to re-enter that space. And while I think the details of this Parshiat Sotah are very difficult for us to read sometimes, I think that at their essence, it sits at the same axis as the Tmeim and also as the Nazir, of this question of who's in and out. So there it's about community, but here it's about within our intimate marital relationship. Have we done something that's made us step out completely of this dynamic? Is there a way to re-enter this dynamic? Is there a way to sort of repair the emotional foundation of what's going on here? I think that at the root of it sits something very, very similar. And I'll just end by saying that another sort of, let's say, non sequitur, or how is this connected? The bracha that the Kohanim give to Am Yisrael, the bracha that we hear most days of the week, in fact, actually preserves the same thing. We have the bracha, which is to all of Am Yisrael, but it's actually said in the singular. Yivarechecha Hashem v'yishmerecha, right? That you should be blessed and guarded. It's said to all of Am Yisrael, but it's actually only addressed and here the second person, but it's addressed to one individual. And a lot of the Parshanim have sort of spoken about this point, which is that even this collective blessing for the people focuses on an individual. It's the same movement between how do we preserve the individual need while also being part of the collective. So even in the blessing, we have something that reaches everybody, but it also directs itself to the individual. And I sort of am just sharing this as a broader idea that I think can guide the future learning of Sefer Bamidbar. This question of who's in and out, what's that balance between community and the individual, really sits at the root, I think, of much that we'll be learning about as the Parashiyot continue. Shabbat Shalom.